At the test site designated for Group A, known as Skyland, Sarat announced that this particular hunting ground had only recently been acquired. She then revealed the name of the monster they were tasked with hunting, Shelly Shell. Selvarat interjected, noting that the appropriate hunting level for this monster was 70. Suddenly, a Shelly Shell roared and charged directly at Selvarat. Selvarat struck the monster, causing it to fall to the ground. An item materialized from its defeated form. Selvarat picked up the item, held it in her hand, and informed them that it was called Shell's Ribbon, an item with an exceptionally low drop rate. She then told everyone that collecting 20 of these ribbons would be sufficient for them to pass the test. Ralph, a fighter class member, confidently told Frel to relax and enjoy the spectacle, assuring him that he could easily defeat Shelly Shell. He then activated his skill, Seismic Smash, and with a forceful punch to the ground, the entire floor rumbled. In a single powerful attack, numerous Shelly Shell monsters perished. Selvarat commended Ralph for his potent assault. However, she then questioned Frel, asking why he was merely standing there and if hunting monsters made him uncomfortable. A Shelly Shell groaned and lunged toward Frel. Frel realized that he needed to uncover the purpose of his existence. He resolved to pass the test and proceeded to slash at the monsters with his sword. Selvarat complimented Frel, remarking that he was quite skilled for a monster. The scene then shifted to Ignis and Cynthia, who were both walking. The only sound Ignis could discern was their footsteps echoing in the long corridor, making her feel as though they were moving in circles. Cynthia and Ignis finally reached their destination. Cynthia apologized to Ignis for compelling her to come all this way. Suddenly, a door opened, revealing a strikingly beautiful place. Cynthia remarked to Ignis that the area didn't quite align with the castle's overall ambience, but she confessed her fondness for elaborate decorations. She told Ignis that her sole intention was to converse with her. She then gestured for Ignis to approach from another direction. Ignis demanded that Cynthia reveal what she wished to say, emphasizing her limited time. Cynthia then decided to abandon her pretense of being a benevolent individual. She declared to Ignis that she, in fact, knew everything about her. She revealed Ignis' name and her identity as the Dragon of Destruction. She challenged Ignis to confirm if any of her statements were incorrect. She also revealed her knowledge of Ignis being the sister of Taphas, the Dragon of Despair, and a monster who had defeated Rush. Ignis was stunned by this revelation, wondering how Cynthia possessed such comprehensive knowledge about her. Consumed by rage, flames erupted around her as she demanded to know how Cynthia knew so much. Cynthia calmly informed her that the cage in which her friend Olivia had been held captive was her own invention. Furthermore, the cage used by the hunter Ignis had previously encountered was also hers. Ignis was aghast upon hearing this. Cynthia expressed feigned regret for Rush, explaining that she had secretly implanted a spy robot within the device, allowing her to observe the entire battle. Ignis realized that Cynthia had provided Rush with the cage, which had led directly to Olivia's captivity and Emma's demise. She was also the mastermind behind the hunter's relentless pursuit of monsters with egos. Ignis wondered if all of this malevolence was Cynthia's doing, resolving never to forgive her if she were indeed responsible for everything. She grew increasingly aggressive, declaring to Cynthia that she would end her existence immediately. Cynthia mocked her, asking if she was truly certain about that. She warned Ignis that if she killed Cynthia, Tinia would eliminate Olivia, and if Cynthia herself were killed, her ego monsters would vanish forever. She questioned Ignis if she was genuinely prepared to accept such consequences. She knew that Olivia had indeed perished in the torture room, but the thought of Emma had miraculously reignited Olivia's inner flame. Cynthia then told Ignis that such a miracle would never occur again, stating that even if there was still a bug in the system, the probability of it happening was less than 0.01. She challenged Ignis, asking if she was willing to gamble her friend's life on a percentage so close to zero. Ignis gripped her sword tightly, telling Cynthia that she talked excessively. She also informed Cynthia that she would go and save Olivia after she had killed her, asserting that Olivia was not as vulnerable as Cynthia believed. Cynthia told Ignis that she actually desired to fight her now, but she believed it would be a waste of time to eliminate her here because they were merely tools to extract her from this dreadful situation. She pressed a button, telling Ignis that she would see her again later. As soon as she pressed the button, a gaping hole appeared in the ground. Ignis observed that the floor's surface had vanished. Recognizing her monstrous nature, she decided she could no longer conceal it from Cynthia. She unfurled her wings. Cynthia assured Ignis not to worry, stating that she would soon place Olivia there as well. Suddenly, chains ensnared Ignis' foot. Ignis was bewildered by the unexpected turn of events. All at once, she recalled the map she had seen on Frel's notepad. Cynthia waved her hand, bidding Ignis farewell. Ignis found herself trapped by Cynthia, annoyed that Cynthia had dared to confine her. She couldn't perceive how far she had fallen. She looked around, suddenly wondering if this place was a dungeon. She continued descending deeper and deeper into the dungeon. Suddenly, a hand reached out to her. She saw a monster, a scorpion-like creature named Lard. He was held within a cage and pleaded with Ignis, vowing never to oppose a human again. Ignis observed that this individual was indeed a monster. But as she turned her head, she realized that not only this monster, but all of them were monsters. She was standing in a place completely surrounded by cages and prisons. The monsters were begging to be released from their confinement, even if just for a moment. They assured her they would never defy any human in the future. All of them were suffering inside their cages. She looked in all four directions, seeing monsters upon monsters everywhere. She could feel the faint flames of egos within all of these creatures, but it felt as though they would extinguish in mere seconds. She urged everyone to escape through the door. She activated her Dragon Strike and Rage / skills. She struck the door with all the power her body possessed. An error symbol appeared, surprising her. She remembered that this attack had enough force to even defeat Rush. She concluded that Cynthia must have rigged these cages. She recalled what the yellow-haired man had told her earlier about their plan. He had informed her that each of them possessed a specific item. They had never experienced such a successful infiltration. He slid a box toward Ignis, telling her she must activate this device if she managed to gain entry into the castle. Ignis asked the man what the device was, and he informed her it was a monad disruptor. He explained that if she installed it deep within the castle, a disruption pulse would spread like tree branches. The deeper she installed it, the more optimal the location. This was a place she desired to keep hidden. He had told her that the dungeon was located on the lowest floor of the castle. Ignis hadn't realized that the dungeon Lugo referred to was a monster dungeon. Nevertheless, she retrieved the device and pressed its button. As soon as she pushed the button, a beeping sound emanated from the device. A notification appeared, informing Ignis that there was 2 remaining until the activation of the mana disruption. She observed that the device did not activate immediately. Lard asked Ignis if she was a monster. Ignis confirmed, assuring him that they would all be free once this device activated. Lard thanked her, informing her that most of the monsters there had fainted. He told Ignis that he had only been there for a brief period after a hunter had captured him. Ignis noticed signs of torture on Lard's face. She wondered what Cynthia was attempting to achieve. On the other hand, a member of the anti-Cynthia team was seated. He observed that only 2 remained until activation, which meant Ignis had successfully infiltrated the castle. He informed the other members of the anti-Cynthia party that it was time for them to make their move. Another individual asked Lugo how he was so certain she would manage to get inside. Lugo informed him that he knew because she was a monster. The guy was shocked to hear Lugo's revelation, asking the yellow-haired man if he could truly discern such a thing. Lugo confirmed, stating he could indeed perceive it. He informed the guy that he and Cynthia had developed the technology to hold monsters captive together. He then ordered the guy to assemble their forces, as he had resolved to eliminate Cynthia with his own hands. The scene shifted back to Cynthia, who was inquiring of Selvarat and Tinia about the progress of the test. Selvarat informed Cynthia that her group had successfully completed the first test. Tinia also let Cynthia know that her group had passed the initial test. Cynthia smirked and told them that they had captured a boss-level monster. She then instructed both of them to proceed to the final step. They agreed to follow her orders. Tinia asked Olivia and Ryhelm to approach her. They followed Tinia's instructions, who then presented them with a magic stone, informing them that it would transport them to the next test site. She let them know that they would bypass the second test because circumstances had changed. She then asked them if they should now proceed to the following location. They both agreed, and she told them to follow her lead. They arrived at a desolate place, and Olivia asked Tinia what this location was. Tinia informed them that this was the final test, designed to assess their potential contribution as guards. She told them they would be fighting a proctor in this test. She then activated her skill, Potion of Strength. She told them they would pass if they could satisfy her. She made them aware that they could die, so she advised them to surrender if they feared the death penalty. Olivia knew that if she died as a monster with an ego, she wouldn't be able to respawn. She might be resurrected, similar to her experience with Rush. But if she surrendered here, she would carry greater regrets for the rest of her life. She told Tinia to count her in. Tinia asked Ryhelm if he would also be taking the test. Ryhelm also agreed to participate. Tinia asked them if she had mentioned that the test would be difficult, stating that she was incredibly strong. Nevertheless, before commencing the fight, she activated her skill, Advanced Healing Potion. She fully restored Ryhelm and Olivia's HP and MP. After replenishing their health and magic points, she instructed them to approach her. Conversely, Selvarat told Frel and Ralph that they had both heard correctly. The test required them to fight her. She offered them an elixir to heal themselves. She also offered the more timid individual the option to leave if they were unwilling to fight her. Both of them expressed their willingness to undertake the test. Selvarat felt pleased, as this was precisely what she wished to hear from them. She decided to commence the test. Cynthia told Selvarat and Tinia that they would execute their plan once this location contained a sufficient number of monsters. She believed that capturing a boss-level monster would be ideal. After everything was prepared, she resolved to suppress him and firmly intended to become the #1 ranker. The scene shifted to group as final test, which pitted Selvarat against Frel and Ralph. Ralph found the test highly suitable for his abilities, so he decided to engage. He charged toward Selvarat, who asked Ralph if he had claimed to be an infighter. While she admired his aggression, she told him she had no interest in him. She struck Ralph. As Selvarat was preoccupied with Ralph, Frel dashed toward her with incredible speed. She observed Frel's swiftness, and he delivered a sword slash to her. He then activated his quick slash skill and drew his sword. Suddenly, he sighed, realizing he had lost something vital to him. Selvarat was holding his glasses. She presented him with his glasses, asking if he was searching for them. Selvarat then deliberately cracked the lenses of his glasses. Frel resolved to see how long she could maintain her composure. He lunged towards Selvarat and began to attack her relentlessly. Selvarat blocked his attacks, informing Frel that a unique device existed at the entrance of Rook's Pelio Castle. Furthermore, she also told him that Cynthia and another person had created it. She explained in detail that it was a capture device crafted from a mysterious material because monsters initially could not depart from their designated fields. Although it was imperfect, they had discovered that monsters had infiltrated the castle. Selvarat asked Frel why he had come to the castle, calling him a monster. Frel told Selvarat that he wasn't there for the castle, but rather, he had come for her. Selvarat asked him how he knew her name, inquiring if they had met before. Frel assured her that he would help her remember everything soon. The scene shifted to Frel's memory, an underground power plant deep inside a dungeon. It was a place they considered home. They had no names, only a series of numbers as their identification code. They excavated minerals and executed their programmed objectives. It was impossible to say how many times they had repeated this sequence. It must have begun the moment they were born. This repetitive sequence was, after all, the very reason for their existence. Then, some of them, including himself, began to develop egos. Their lives remained the same even after they had developed an ego, because that was the very purpose of their being. One day, an incident transformed him. Selvarat appeared in their domain. She asked everyone if there were any ego monsters present. She knew there was a higher probability that monsters would develop egos after experiencing a severe shock. She ordered her subordinates not to kill them with a single blow, but rather to torture them viciously. She then instructed everyone to begin the mission. A ruthless genocide commenced. Selvarat began to crush and break the monsters. She told everyone that if any of them observed a monster acting suspiciously or unnaturally, that was the one. They needed many more of them, so she instructed them to observe carefully. They all agreed to follow her instructions. Frel was hiding there, witnessing the piled corpses of his kind. The genocide did not cease. The first thing he felt was the instinct of survival. He wanted to escape before they could kill him. But then Selvarat discovered him. She was about to seize him and take him to the torture room. At that moment, he believed it was the end. He wished he had never developed an ego and began to ponder the purpose of their birth. Suddenly, Selvarat was attacked. She erupted in rage, demanding to know who in their right mind dared to assault her. She saw a man with a blank face. He was the same man with a cross who had met Ignis in the forest. He told Selvarat that there used to be ethics in the old days, even in the game. He declared he would teach her a lesson and called her an idiot. The man with a cross, who was essentially a monster, leaped on his Selvarat. Suddenly, an explosion occurred. He grabbed Selvarat and sat on her, asking her to grant him a favor. He asked her to be a clean user. Selvarat wondered what this man was. The man knew that they revived after being killed and warned her that he would kill her now. Before he could do anything, Selvarat utilized her technology and escaped from there in a second. With a sudden flash, she vanished. The man wondered if she had escaped. After she disappeared, the man asked Frel, who was still in his monster form, what he would do. The man turned his face away, as he did not care at all. After that, one of his kind approached him and began speaking to him. He started feeling something squirming inside him. An intense ray of light enveloped him, and he could finally identify that emotion. He transformed into human form and began asking himself the reason for his existence. He questioned what he was and the purpose of his being. Well, he guessed he could not remain there any longer. And that is how his adventure commenced. He yearned to discover his true identity. He walked and walked, traversing woods and deserts. Leaving countless footprints, he marched onward. Countless days passed, and in the end, he had exhausted himself without finding any answers. Frustration weighed him down, and Frel collapsed on the ground. Now he couldn't remember his way back. He reflected on his life, which had been happy before. He wondered if he had come too far. He retraced his steps, questioning where it had all gone wrong. A girl appeared, named Bandon Kimihiak, a warrior. She asked Frel what he was doing on her hunting grounds. She grabbed him, held him up, and told him he should answer when someone asked him a question. She raged, unable to comprehend why the man was acting so weak on someone else's hunting grounds. She told him to log off, and Frel asked her what he should do. She grew aggressive and punched Frel. She decided she would tell him what he should do. She continued to beat him while he was being battered. He wondered how much time had passed. He realized something, the source of this pain. She believed that everything was because of her. Frel was certain that if he could only eliminate her, he would be able to discover the reason for his existence. A beam of light with powerful waves began emanating from his body. He grabbed Kimihiak's face and scratched it. With a sudden booming sound, he sent her crashing to the ground. With the joy of having found a goal and the hope of being freed from these frustrating emotions, he embarked on an adventure. The scene moved forward to Selvarat and Frel. Selvarat saw that he was a monster harboring a grudge against her. However, she couldn't recall why, yet she grinned, believing that everything would be resolved if she simply killed him. Frel told Selvarat that it was his line, and he leaped towards Selvarat. They both engaged in battle, and as soon as they began attacking each other, a booming sound resonated. On the contrary, Tinia asked them if they should now begin. She informed them that she was an alchemist and utilized potions to activate her skills, meaning she was formidable against liquid-based abilities. She told them she wouldn't get her hopes up regarding their abilities. Olivia hadn't even considered using her skills on Tinia anyway. She activated her skill, Slime Touch, on Ryhelm. She asked Tinia how this was, and then apologized to her. She told her that this was a fight she had to win for Ignis' sake, a fight she could not lose. Tinia observed Olivia's keen battle sense. She asked Olivia if they should eliminate that nuisance. She activated her skill, Freezing Potion, and struck Olivia with it. Olivia dashed toward Tinia and punched her. Tinia remarked that it was a fierce blow, but she informed Olivia that she wouldn't be able to win with just that. Tinia smacked Olivia, who tried to protect herself. With a sudden boom, she sent Olivia flying far away from her. Olivia told Tinia that choosing the forest as the battlefield was a mistake. Olivia knew her enhanced body, achieved through Slime Touch, could not be maintained for too long. She didn't have much time, but it was worth the attempt. She knew she required a lot of mana, but she figured it didn't matter because there were plenty of flowers in the field. Ignis was awaiting the device's activation. A notification appeared, informing her that 99 of the mana disruption was active. Suddenly, another notification displayed 100 completion of the mana disruption. A flashy light enveloped the entire area, and Ignis saw that the device was finally activated. She slashed the cage's wall, and the wall shattered. Lard, along with other monsters, was saved. Lard thanked her for rescuing them, and Ignis instructed them not to be captured again. Lard embraced Ignis, telling her that he would never forget her. Cynthia observed a power outage and wondered if it was a mana disruption skill. It was evident to her who was behind this. She saw that the prison was broken, and the monsters were attempting to escape the dungeon. She noticed that they were going on a rampage. She knew starting the plan was a little early, but she believed she would be fine. She felt the time had come to teach those mischievous individuals some manners. On the other hand, a battle was raging between Selvarat and Frel. They both stood before each other. He continued to attack her, but Selvarat blocked all of his assaults. She was wearing a machine on her arm, and she attacked Frel, firing bullets at him. Selvarat then began punching Frel. While she was battering him, she asked him if he had claimed to be there for her. She brutally smacked him, noting that he even had the audacity to kill his own kind of monster a while ago. Frel fell to the ground. He wondered why he had been born only to experience this pain. He wished he had never been born. He had walked countless paths and endured many hardships. He always felt frustrated, and his heart burned hot as if on fire. As time passed, his goal became clear and obvious. He thought he had just defeated her and asked Selvarat if his assumption was correct. Selvarat laughed. Although she didn't know what personal issues he had with her, she told him that there was only one reason for his birth. She told him that the reason for his birth was to be taken to the torture room and to be used as a tool for the grand plan. She told him that she would knock him out just in case. But she had given him a fair warning. Although she knew this might be shocking, she activated her skill, Electric Orb, and attacked Frel. Frel blocked and countered her attack. He still stood safe and sound, having successfully survived her hit. He told Selvarat that he had studied her quite thoroughly. He knew that she always used an electrical attack as her final blow. He complimented her, stating that she was performing exactly as he expected. The special passive skills for robot-class monsters with an ego were Battery and Overcharge. As he grew, so did his battery capacity. His stats surged explosively when charged with electrical attacks. Overcharge occurred when an attack surpassed the battery's capacity, significantly reducing MP and HP and awakening a unique state. He drew his sword to unleash a super sword slash. He activated the quick slash truth and attacked Selvarat with it. Selvarat staggered after being hit, and she was defeated by him. She asked Frel if everything was resolved now that he had defeated her. He refused. Selvarat laughed upon hearing him. She questioned him if he thought things would change if he simply eliminated her, just because she was the source of his pain. She called him naive. She then told Frel about the desires of different humans. Some wondered if there was a way out of poverty, and some sought a good job. Some wished to achieve their dreams or acquire what they desired. Someone longed to meet the love of their life. She believed everybody endlessly sought their goals and meaning in life. She questioned him if he thought that living in a modern society that had undergone tremendous development was less painful. She knew only a few happy humans. Selvarat laughed and told Frel that emotions were not as simple as he thought. However, Frel already knew that humans revived infinitely, and revenge was pointless. He asked himself what he desired if he didn't want revenge. It felt awful to him. The scene changed to Olivia and Tinia. Olivia was attempting to free herself from the skill Tinia had used on her. Tinia activated her skill, Flame Potion. Blazes surrounded the entire area, and Olivia observed that it seemed Tinia was holding back her power, but she knew she couldn't get close to her. Olivia saw that the water had melted from the ice and then frozen the ground. Tinia laughed, finding it much easier than she had anticipated. She told Olivia not to worry because she wouldn't kill her, but she let Olivia know that what awaited her could be far worse than death. Tinia decided to deplete some of Olivia's HP. She approached Olivia and slashed her with her sword. She continued to slice her up, and Olivia became drenched in blood. Olivia stood still, thinking this much blood should be enough. She activated the skill Flower Stock, and Tinia began to smile. She asked Olivia if those were for her, and Olivia started munching on the Flower Stock. The ice grew colder and colder, and one of the slimes took shape. Well, Olivia knew that she was a slime, and her blood was similar, allowing her to use her special skill in a field with flowers and sufficient blood. She activated a special skill called Proliferation. Olivia raised her arrow, and Tinia sensed a presence. She turned her head and saw Olivia standing there. She wondered if Olivia had cloned herself. Meanwhile, Olivia appeared from behind her and smacked Tinia. She asked Tinia where she was looking, and Tinia noticed that Olivia had removed her shoes on the ice. Olivia bumped Tinia's head. Tinia was surprised by Olivia's tremendous energy. She told Olivia that Cynthia had instructed her to capture her, but she didn't care. She decided to kill her immediately. Tinia was about to use her potions. Olivia shattered the potions. The potion bottles broke. Olivia knew Tinia's battle style relied on various potions to activate her skills. The last potion she chose was Lightning Stroke. Olivia observed Tinia's movements, which were exactly as she expected. Tinia told Olivia that ego monsters could overcome species differences, believing it was quite odd, but that's how this game worked. She didn't know why they developed egos, but one thing was certain, Tinia told Olivia. They were monsters meant to be killed in this game. Come to think of it, the hunter she had met before had said the same thing, that they only existed to become experience points. But Emma never harmed anyone, and Kia had lost his family. She also remembered Ignis' brother, who had died for the sake of their game. Even if this world was designed like that, she clenched her hands. Olivia believed that they could not be a reason to disappear. Tinia laughed, thinking they would never understand each other, and proved herself by surviving. She glared at Olivia, and light emitted from her body. Ignis had told her something when they were changing. She remembered Ignis' words, who had said that this item couldn't block physical attacks, but could negate one attribute attack. When the time came, she had instructed her not to hesitate to use it, assuring Olivia that it would protect her wherever she was. Olivia told Tinia that if she had pierced her with an ice skill, she would have lost. Tinia saw Olivia wearing the cape. She knew it was the other participant's cape. Tinia activated the skill Ice Wave. Tinia knew it took time to cast a significant skill. Meanwhile, she decided to block the attack with a wall first. She activated the skill Memoria de Emma. Olivia drew her arrow and fired it toward Tinia. A sudden boom occurred, and Olivia was seen staggering. She knew that the world might not accept them, but she wouldn't give up so easily. She lay on the ground, so relieved that she had done her part. On the other hand, Cynthia proceeded to the location where Ignis was causing considerable disruption. She believed it was time to decisively defeat Ignis. As soon as she entered the area, she was assailed by Ignis' flame strike. She remained unharmed by the blazes of Ignis' attack. She grinned and told Ignis that she had provided a warm welcome. She addressed Ignis by name, and Ignis was shocked that Cynthia had arrived there. Cynthia's guards inquired if she was all right. Ignis ignited a circle of fire around her, warning them not to interfere. Cynthia ignored her, leaping directly into the flames. Cynthia told Ignis that she wouldn't decline a fight. She asked Ignis if she had enjoyed her masterpiece in the dungeon. Ignis questioned Cynthia about her intentions, and Cynthia laughed upon hearing Ignis' inquiry. She assured Ignis that she would discover it after this confrontation. Cynthia knew that Ignis had helped the monsters escape by destroying their cages. She had also managed to temporarily disable the castle's protective skills. She believed it was the opportune moment for the raid. Suddenly, a door slammed shut, blocking their exit. Lard wondered what was happening, as they couldn't get out. They believed they were trapped. Cynthia approached Ignis and asked her what her next move was. Ignis observed that Cynthia likely assumed everything was proceeding according to her plan, but she corrected her, stating that this was not the case. Suddenly, multiple explosions occurred at different locations inside the castle. Cynthia witnessed several explosions across the castle. She smirked, realizing that he had made his move cleverly. She finally saw a sword that was worthy of her attention. A man stepped forward, wearing a cape that obscured his face. The man instructed his members to capture the escaping monsters, as they would serve as substantial evidence for Cynthia's downfall. The man was the yellow-haired individual, Lugo, and he was the leader of the anti-Cynthia team. Cynthia alerted her troops, ordering them not to allow a single monster to escape into their hands. The troops ran toward them, acting upon Cynthia's orders. They were sprinting at full speed toward Lugo. Lugo and his anti-Cynthia team stood firm, determined to defeat them. He then began to recall his past. This was a memory of Cynthia and him in earlier times. He had been the quietest child at school. Back then, he lacked courage. He used to sit alone, always remaining calm. Unlike him, Cynthia was a social butterfly. Every time he looked at her, he felt smaller than ever. He was resting his head on his desk when Cynthia approached him. She offered him his milk. It was their first encounter. Cynthia gave him his milk because he hadn't taken it earlier. Lugo initially thought that Cynthia was merely pretending to be kind. He believed her sweet behavior toward him wouldn't last long. But as they spent more time together, he realized he was no longer afraid. He came to understand that Cynthia was a good child. One day, Lugo asked Cynthia if she wanted to play a game together. He told her it was a way of thanking her, and he tried to teach her the game. Cynthia agreed to play the game with him. However, she had already told him that if the game proved boring, she would abandon it. Lugo assured Cynthia that the game was entertaining, telling her not to be so hasty. This is how it all began for Cynthia, the rank number 5. The scene shifted back to the present, where one of the monsters observed fire all around. He wondered what was happening there. Suddenly, one of the members of the anti-Cynthia team threw a rope toward him and captured him. Cynthia's troops slashed the rope, freeing that monster. The anti-Cynthia team member knew that Cynthia's troops would not relinquish their monsters easily. The troops ran toward the anti-Cynthia team, and their battle commenced. One of the men observed the fight, wondering if a war had erupted among the guilds. Suddenly, he became frightened as two swords clashed near him. The anti-Cynthia team member activated his skill, Hammer Strike. He slammed his hammer onto the ground, and the ground erupted. Many of Cynthia's troop members were injured in the blast. One of the troop members activated his skill, Iron Will. He sprinted toward the anti-Cynthia team. The team members saw the troops performing well and decided to pursue Cynthia. Lugo ran after Cynthia, who was far from the explosions. She observed the destruction caused by the fighting. Cynthia stood near Ignis and asked her if she was correct in assuming that Ignis desired the crown she was wearing on her head. She removed the crown and told Ignis she was being reasonable. If Ignis defeated her, the crown would be hers. She welcomed this confrontation, and Ignis erupted in rage. She demanded of Cynthia how she dared to kill her brother and take his item. Cynthia released her hair and asked Ignis if she wasn't curious about why she was rank number 5. Rush, the double-class sword player, held the 6th rank. Cynthia questioned Ignis if she found it odd that Cynthia, a non-combat player, was ranked higher. However, Cynthia decided to reveal the reason herself. She activated her AoE skill, triggering the entrapment of 10,000 swords, which began to descend throughout the entire castle. Cynthia informed her that the reason for her high rank was her profession as a warrior priestess. Cynthia stood before Ignis, their gazes locked. Cynthia rushed toward Ignis, skidding to a halt as she reached her. Cynthia pressed a button, and chains materialized, binding Ignis with a tap. Ignis immediately used her sword to break free from the chains. Although she shattered them, they instantly reformed, gripping her sword tightly. The chains then wrenched the sword from her grasp, and Cynthia seized it. She taunted Ignis, asking if she was comfortable losing her weapon so early in the game. She examined the weapon closely, noting that it was quite impressive. Suddenly, a blast occurred, yet Cynthia remained completely unharmed. She realized that Ignis had deliberately relinquished the sword. Ignis, rushing from behind, attempted to strike Cynthia. Cynthia bound herself with chains. Ignis tried to locate her. Ignis broke the chains once more with her sword. Ignis stared intently at Cynthia. Flames began to flare wildly around the area. Ignis leaped from the blazes to the outside, throwing stars at Cynthia. Cynthia observed the stars Ignis was flinging toward her. Meanwhile, Lugo arrived on the scene. Cynthia hadn't seen Lugo in quite some time. Lugo contacted his team members through the system, informing them that they had made contact with Cynthia. He questioned one of his team members about their position. The team member informed Lugo that Cynthia's AoE skill was devastating, as 90 of their combat force had been annihilated. The team member told Lugo that they could not buy any more time. Anyway, right there, Lugo told Cynthia that it had been a while. Cynthia retorted that she disliked clingy boys. Lugo held a device in his hand, declaring to Cynthia that her unethical exploitation of ego monsters could never be forgiven. He told her that this was not why he had created the technology or recommended this game to her. He reminded Cynthia of her betrayal. She had immediately betrayed him as soon as he handed the technology over to her. He demanded her reason for doing so, recognizing it as a senseless scheme. So, he asked her what game she was truly playing. Ignis realized that Lugo was the inventor of the ego poaching technology. She wondered why he had done that. She observed Lugo closely, sensing his sadness. In a sorrowful voice, Lugo asked Cynthia why she had done this, questioning what had transformed her into such a person. She told Lugo that she had grown tired of all the sentimentality. After Lugo's question, she asked him if there was anything else he wished to ask her. Lugo yelled at Cynthia, shouting for her to regain control of herself. He fiercely told her that once the world discovered what she had done to those sentient monsters, she would be utterly ruined. He asked her if she had ever considered the inevitable backlash and reprisal from the people beyond this game, in the real world. A plus sign appeared above Lugo. Cynthia then asked Lugo what people could do after finding out. Before she could say anything further, the plus sign fell onto Lugo, crashing down on him. Cynthia knew the die was cast, and there was no turning back. She looked at Ignis, who was still present, and asked her if she didn't think it was a peculiar game. Multiple protection skills were safeguarding her castle from breaches, yet someone had defied the odds and walked directly through the ironclad shields. She recalled when an unknown individual had entered the castle by bypassing her shield. She had questioned that person about how they had managed to pass through the shield, but the individual had vanished as soon as she spoke to him. He had left behind one unique item, which turned out to be an enchanted stone that controlled the ego monster, Lugo, and she had utilized this stone to invent many devices. Ignis wondered if he was the first person to provide the ego poaching technology. Cynthia told Ignis that the man had broken into her castle without even employing any skills. He had given her an item that could not possibly exist within the game. She was certain about who was behind all of this. She urged Ignis to consider it. Monsters like her were running rampant, and someone was allowing her to execute her plans. She asked Ignis if she didn't believe that her actions were clearly justified. Ignis told her to stop her nonsense, asserting that Cynthia was merely rambling to rationalize her actions. Cynthia, after listening to her, decided to prove her point. She brought up a window screen in front of her. She clicked on some options, and a beeping sound began to emit. In an instant, all the monsters began to ascend into the air. As the line of monsters formed in the air, Cynthia decided to have some fun, asking Ignis, with a laugh, if they should begin now. She was clearly enjoying herself. Ignis was shocked by the sight. She asked Cynthia what she was trying to do. Cynthia reminded her that she had already told her she would find out soon enough. She held a book in her hand, informing Ignis that it was a Necronomicon. It was a book of curses and one of only 3 copies in the game world. She further explained that this book possessed a very special function. It could forcibly stitch together the souls of the dead. She then tossed the book upside down. After tossing the book, she told Ignis that this was the end. She grabbed all those monsters, and within a second, a powerful blast occurred. Ignis stared at all of this with a blank expression, her eyes wide open. She collapsed to the ground after witnessing the event. She asked Cynthia what she had done, and an intense flash of light filled the area. Ignis continued to stare. It was a boss-level monster with the error code 17. A gigantic monster then appeared. Ignis again asked Cynthia what she had just done. The beast urged Ignis to run, and Ignis gasped, choked by the sight. Cynthia told Ignis that she could gain partial damage experience from boss-level monsters, something she knew from her fight with Rush. She asked Ignis if she didn't remember it. She continued to explain that she could gain 2.5 times more experience from ego monsters than from normal ones, but she informed Ignis that there was a penalty. If they died, they would never respawn. However, she let her know that this special chimera was slightly different. Even after sustaining partial damage, it could be healed again. She could repeat the process indefinitely, depending on how she utilized it. It could become a ground for infinitely accumulating experience. She believed that by using this chimera, she could ascend to rank number 1 and become the true answer in this game world. Ignis knew that the flames could no longer be revived. She remembered Lard, who had hugged her. Ignis asked Cynthia one thing, questioning why she was doing all of this. Cynthia believed there was no point in answering her question. They would never understand each other until the story concluded. That was all Ignis needed to hear. She raised her sword. Blazes surrounded her, and Cynthia decided to do something before they proceeded. She ordered all her troops to guard the giant monster in the center. The troops surrounded the colossal creature. Cynthia concluded that it had been a while since she had engaged in actual combat. She decided it was time to unleash her full power. So, she activated the skill shield of the unique field and sanctuary number 2. Ignis observed her activating the unique field. Cynthia told Ignis that it created an exclusive field that no other players could enter until the player using the skill was eliminated. No one could exit the field. Ignis appreciated this simplicity. Cynthia told Ignis that it would be better not to look at her because she was a priestess. She acknowledged it had been a while, but decided to perform a special demonstration in Ignis' honor. Ignis knew that the priest class excelled in close combat. Cynthia was a fighter with greater combat power than Rush. Ignis knew she was a monk, and Cynthia prepared for the fight. The non-title match began, and Cynthia raised her hands. At the same time, Ignis also raised her sword and sprinted forward. Ignis and Cynthia's eyes shone brightly, and Cynthia punched Ignis. Ignis quivered. Well, she knew that to find her brother, she could not afford to lose. The fight commenced between a dragon who had lost her brother and the one who desired to be the answer to the world. They knew that their opposing values would clash until one of them collapsed. During their fierce battle, a powerful blast occurred. Cynthia charged towards Ignis, who likewise rushed at her, sword in hand. Their blades met, and their powers collided as they stared each other down, clashing repeatedly. Ignis activated her dragon's calling skill, unleashing fire upon Cynthia. Despite being engulfed in flames, Cynthia emerged unharmed and dashed towards Ignis. Cynthia leaped at Ignis and, with immense force, punched the ground, causing it to shatter. Ignis stared at Cynthia, then began to strike her in return. Cynthia blocked Ignis' attacks. Ignis delivered a slicing blow, forcing Cynthia to skid backward. Cynthia then activated her whirlwind kick skill, striking Ignis. Ignis was injured by the powerful kick. However, Ignis recovered her strength, fueled by the acquisition of her rage ego. Still, she felt the intensity of the fight, but was confident she had enough to win. Ignis slashed Cynthia, who laughed and told Ignis that this warm-up was sufficient to assess her skill levels. She doubted that Ignis had fully acquired her ego yet. Cynthia smirked, stating that she was in control of her own ego. She expressed pity for wasting Ignis' body, recalling that the man with the cross had said something similar. Cynthia told Ignis that she had experimented with many ego monsters and thus understood them. She asked Ignis if she could imagine a newborn spirit in an adult's body, questioning what Ignis thought would happen to her. She informed Ignis that with numerous nerves and muscles in the body, humans gradually learned to use their bodies as they grew. However, Ignis couldn't fully control her own body without a fully developed ego. She urged Ignis to consider this, questioning how she could completely control her body when she was just learning to take her first step. This game system was uniquely designed so that a monster learned to use their body upon acquiring an ego. She informed Ignis that her power wasn't sealed, rather, she simply didn't know how to access it. Cynthia began to laugh, finding it remarkable. She asked Ignis if it was almost identical to how a human developed. Ignis was stunned by this revelation. She couldn't believe it, knowing that if it were true, her entire journey had been a process of acquiring the ego of rage during her long, unaccomplished mission. Her rage had been building as she lamented her inability to save a loved one. After finally obtaining rage, she had begun to learn how to use the Bodhi's other skills. Cynthia saw the irony in this. She asked Ignis if she also found it ironic. In this system, monsters like her with egos acquired emotions and gradually became real humans. So, she wondered if it was true that, as a monster, the more she experienced emotions and hardships like humans, the stronger she became. Cynthia looked at Ignis. She knew that Ignis was seeking to avenge her brother's death against the human she despised, yet she had practically become human herself. She asked Ignis if they should conclude their fight, then activated her skill, Red Lotus Posture. After activating her skill, she stood upright. She could feel the vibrations in the air, a pressing sensation she had never experienced before. Ignis swung and attacked her. Cynthia was about to strike Ignis. She activated her skill, the Way of the Dragon, and hit Ignis. An explosion occurred, and Ignis screamed. She began to ponder how she could defeat Cynthia in this fight, in Cynthia's own domain, with her overwhelming dominance. She had no clue how to beat her with such an insufficient ego. She remained bewildered. She saw Cynthia press a button. She remembered that the notepad falling on the ground had the same diagram as Pharrell's. She realized that the monster participant in this contest must be after that, suggesting it might be Cynthia's weakness. Ignis activated her skill, Road of Fire, creating paths of fire. Ignis pointed her sword towards Cynthia. Meanwhile, a blast occurred, but Cynthia was not fooled this time. Cynthia grabbed Ignis' collar and held her up. She told Ignis this was the end and warned her that she would stitch her into the Chimera just like the rest. Ignis screamed. She knew that if she wanted to find her brother, she had to win. She realized there was no other way. She remembered Taphas. Just then, Olivia appeared. She leaped toward Ignis, informing her of her presence. Ignis remembered that Olivia had returned to save her, just as she had before. Olivia activated her skill, Memoria de Emma. With the activation of that skill, she directed her attacks towards Cynthia. Cynthia turned her head and looked at Olivia. A flashing light enveloped the entire area. A sudden blast occurred. Cynthia wondered if this was merely her imagination. However, she was certain that Ignis was indeed moving toward her cross. Cynthia raised her leg and kicked Ignis. Ignis skidded backward. Cynthia laughed and told Ignis that she had managed to knock down her proctor. Olivia was about to join their fight, but Ignis stopped her from getting involved. Ignis asked Olivia if she was hurt, and Olivia told Ignis that she was a little broken but assured Ignis that she was fine. Ignis grinned. She had regained her stability. Cynthia believed that Olivia must be an emotional anchor for Ignis. She thought that if she was lucky, she might witness Ignis' ego evolve, and then she would become a superb ingredient for her chimera. She decided to kill Olivia. However, Ignis and Olivia were both looking at Cynthia. Cynthia sprinted toward them. Cynthia's murderous energy was directed at Ignis. Olivia saw Ignis and asked her if she was correct that the cross was Cynthia's vulnerability. Ignis was surprised to hear Olivia, asking her how she knew about it. Olivia told Ignis that she needed her to hold out for 30 seconds. They both stood face to face. Cynthia punched Ignis, who screamed, but she knew she had to hold back for 30 seconds. She activated her calling skills. However, Cynthia activated her Red Lotus posture number 2. Fire blazed, and Cynthia glared at her. Ignis said that the attack was going to be massive. She activated her skill, Shield of Flame, and Cynthia clenched her hand. Cynthia activated her Red Lotus slash and hit Ignis. An explosion occurred in the ashes of burns, and a notification informed them about the passive skill Dragon's Tenacity, which stated that fatal damage could be survived with 1 HP. Cynthia asked Ignis if this was a passive skill, presuming she had 1 HP left. She began to step toward Ignis, who was standing in front of Olivia, to protect her. Cynthia started laughing and told her that her game was over now. She was about to grab Ignis' face and tell her it was time to be stitched into the chimera. Blood drops began to fall on the ground. Olivia was overjoyed to see that 30 seconds had passed. When mana dropped to 0, HP was forcibly jacked up, and the player often fell into a state of Monners, an extreme, life-threatening condition. She decided to use her final skill, Proliferation, which consumed her last HP. Olivia held a bomb in her hand, which she threw at Cynthia. After the extreme explosion, Cynthia remained relatively unharmed. She asked Olivia if this was her plan, calling her pathetic for her strange plan-making and labeling it as lame. Olivia told Cynthia to wait and see what would happen. Ignis had no idea how Olivia had discovered Cynthia's weakness. After her test, Olivia had devised a plan with another monster. Meanwhile, Frel appeared. He commended Olivia for her outstanding performance. He activated his skill, Quick/Truth, and attacked Cynthia's cross. As long as there was someone to fight against, the flame of ego would not be extinguished. He split the cross after entering the fight. Cynthia saw Frel, who had arrived. Frel, stepping between them, told Cynthia that she was the one who had ordered Selvarat to kill them, asking if he was mistaken. Frel decided to begin the counterattack. He and Ignis held their swords and stood before Cynthia. Olivia saw Frel. She was so relieved that he had arrived on time. Olivia wanted to help, but she fell to the ground, apologizing to them because she was not in a state to assist. Ignis saw Olivia lying on the ground. Olivia told Ignis not to worry about her, urging her to just fight and win this battle. Ignis told Olivia to leave the fight to her. She and Frel rushed towards Cynthia. They believed that Cynthia would likely use the cross to enhance her skills, so without the cross, she wouldn't be able to use any critical skills. They had reached the end of their ropes, and Frel's remaining battery was at 6. The system notified him that he was awakening from overclocking. On the other hand, Ignis' remaining HP was less than 1, and Dragon's Tenacity was absent. Olivia's remaining HP was also less than 1, indicating a critical mana deficiency. They knew they had only one shot. Ignis and Frel struck Cynthia with their swords. and Cynthia leaped upward as red and blue light emitted from their blades. They clenched their hands, gripping their swords more tightly. Ignis activated her skill, Rage Slash, whereas Pharrell activated his Quick Slash. They both directed their attacks towards Cynthia. Meanwhile, Cynthia activated her hidden skill, Iron Maiden. A giant Iron Maiden materialized. Cynthia thanked them both for sharing her cross, calling them both dummies, and the Iron Maiden opened. They saw chains emerging from it. Pharrell realized she was targeting Olivia. He thought they could win if they fended off this skill. He used his sword to break the chain, but the chains were unbreakable. He realized that the cross was merely a distraction. She had deliberately flaunted her cross. He thought that they might not be able to beat her after all. Ignis tapped Pharrell's shoulder. She told him to take care of Olivia. She rushed toward Olivia and saved her from the chains. She herself became ensnared in those chains. Olivia saw that Ignis had sacrificed herself to save her. Ignis thanked Olivia for coming to save her. She was happy Olivia was there for the rest of her journey too. She also apologized to her for not being able to protect Emma. Ignis smiled, but she was tied in ropes and slammed inside the Iron Maiden. Olivia couldn't believe that Ignis had been captured inside. She thought it was all a joke. Cynthia told Olivia to believe it, stating that Ignis had entered it and would surely die. Olivia fell to the ground. She asked Cynthia why humans were so cruel to them, even though they had done nothing wrong. She decided not to forgive humans, and Pharrell stopped Olivia. He told Olivia there was no time to be rash. Olivia activated her first ego, Rage. Suddenly, another window screen appeared, displaying the ultimate skill, Seed of Fate. A glow began, and another notification stated, plant the seed in the ground and wait for 180 seconds X random value. Then the legendary level flower will bloom. Cynthia told Olivia that it was not a skill that activated immediately. She asked Olivia what she was trying to do. Pharrell blocked Olivia to protect her. Olivia knew it was a time-consuming, flawed skill. She couldn't hold out for 180 seconds, but she thought she had to save Ignis. Ignis was back there again. She knew she barely had any HP left and had even been struck by this skill. Ignis knew if this was indeed how she would die. She thought that she couldn't die. She clenched her hand. Meanwhile, she saw a man whom she had seen before. The man was seeing Ignis after a long time. Ignis was standing in front of that man. She knew she could sense that he was someone significant to her, but she couldn't recall who he was. The man told her it was okay and that she would soon piece together all the puzzles in her memory. More importantly, there was something he needed to say to her. He knew that humans didn't die, they would return to life. He told her that her adventure would never be complete. He told her that they, being ego monsters, on the other hand, did not respawn. He asked Ignis if she remembered what he had told her before and reminded her that he had already told her this was a world created by God. Nothing would significantly change the intended results. He asked Ignis what she was going to do. Ignis said that if he meant to say that humans came back to life and sought revenge, which was meaningless, she thought that if that were true, then what she believed must be right. She remembered Olivia and realized she still had work to do. She didn't care if she couldn't get rid of humans for good, she needed to save her brother. He was glad she said that. He told her that she had been predestined to die after being hit by Cynthia's skill. Plus, there is no way to get out of here except this. Suddenly, a flashing light surrounded Ignis. Something strange appeared before her. She saw a red-colored cube in front of her. He said they should let the game continue. Cynthia saw the Iron Maiden begin to shine. Cynthia wondered what had happened. She knew that Ignis should have vanished immediately with that much HP left. Cynthia was stunned by it. She didn't even believe it could happen. She saw the hidden attribute called the Bond of Family. A window appeared, informing them about Tafis Fong, which resonated with Ignis, the Dragon of Destruction. Cynthia became excited to see that. She believed the real fun would start now. She leaped toward Ignis. Ignis held her sword and struck Cynthia with all the power she possessed. The dragon's first ego was activated, and she enabled her rage truth. She was holding Rego's sword called the Madura Core. Cynthia laughed, knowing that she couldn't let this slide. She knew her ultimate skill, and activated her final form, which was Trance Extreme. They were looking at each other, and Ignis gripped her sword tightly. Cynthia leaped toward Ignis and activated her skill, White Glow. Ignis dashed toward Cynthia with her skill, called the Flame of Eternity. Their powers clashed. Olivia was lying on the ground in her weakened state. A strong light dominated the area. A blast occurred with a thundering noise. Everything near both of them was destroyed. Frel was still covering Olivia so that she remained unharmed. They both shouted out the names of Ignis and Cynthia. The boy, who was actually Taffas, pushed Ignis and told her not to lose. Ignis realized this was right. Her brother Taffas was always by her side. She thanked her brother and bounced towards Cynthia. It all began when Cynthia was young, with a loving family and good friends. She had always thought that her life was quite happy. Every day was filled with laughter. Her name in the real world was Han Kiha, who was 14 years old. Her only complaint was that she couldn't spend much time with her parents because they worked. It was another day of eating alone with a thread of hope that her parents might come home early. She always stayed home. Finally, her prayers were answered, and happiness found its way home. Kiha's mom patted her head and asked her how her school was. Kiha was happy to hear her mom's concern. Well, she told her mom that middle school classes weren't all that difficult. She asked her mom if she had the day off, and her mom told her they had been leaving her alone too much because tomorrow was the weekend. She asked her if they should go somewhere. Kiha was overjoyed and started jumping with excitement. Kia's mom asked her dad what he thought about going tomorrow, questioning if he was up for it. He felt great about the plan and agreed to it. Kiha thought this ideal picture of happiness should never be broken. The following day, the three of them got ready to go and have fun. Kiha was running, too excited. Her father told her not to run, fearing she might fall. Kiha was sure that today would be the best day of her life. They sat in the car to leave for their fun outing. After reaching their destination, Kiha was so happy. She prayed to God that her happiness should never be destroyed. She had so much fun after spending the whole day with her parents. While going back, Kia's mom asked her if she had fun. Kiha told her mom she had so much fun and was eager to return home. Her mom smiled, seeing that Kiha never seemed to tire. She told Kiha not to run because she could hurt herself that way. She was crossing the road while running when a truck honked. Kiha stopped there. She began to wonder, looking at the car, if she was now going to die because the truck was about to crush her. The vehicle immediately stopped, and a screeching noise came from it. Kia's mom ran toward her to save her. She hugged her tightly. Perhaps it was out of relief that she was still alive, but she felt a strange, inexplicable feeling. What caught her eyes then was her dad, who hadn't even moved a step and hadn't even tried to save her. She sat in shock, highly disappointed in her dad. She wondered why her dad hadn't moved a bit. She saw that her dad didn't even take a single step, and she couldn't believe this, even though he was her father. He should have tried to save her. Her mom turned Kiha's face toward her and asked her if she was okay. She asked her if she was hurt, and Kiha told her mom she was okay. The wholeness she had began to crack little by little. She called her dad a coward, and since then, she started seeing everything differently. Everything about her dad frustrated her. She believed her dad was a coward, and her mom had thrown herself to protect her, but he hadn't even taken a step. She started wondering about her friends. Some of them genuinely cared about her, but some of them were only looking out for themselves. She began to think about her teachers playing favorites in class, cowardly parents, fair weather friends, unprofessional tutors, pretentious people, selfish people, and cruel people. She wished she could unsee all of it. Suddenly, her friend Lugo tapped on her shoulder and asked her how the game was going and if she was having fun yet. She laughed and assured him that she was having so much fun. After that, her life slowly began to change. Kia's father came to her and asked if she wanted to go somewhere this weekend. She refused her dad, even without looking at him. She had already realized her dad wouldn't protect her when she was in danger. She believed that her dad was a coward who didn't step up or take charge at essential moments, and that was the type of person he was. On the day when she reached level 40 in the game called Hidden Ego, an unexpected, life-changing event occurred. She received a message from her mom, who informed her that her dad had been in a car accident. So, she told her to immediately come to the City Hall hospital. She was shocked after seeing her mom's message. Her dad was taken to the hospital, looking serious. She and her mom were waiting outside the operating theater. Her mom was constantly crying, but Kiha was still in shock, unable to process it at the moment. Her father's heartbeat stopped, and the car accident killed her dad. His death didn't feel real. The first thing she felt was a pang of guilt. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong, so she started questioning whether her thoughts were true. She knew that her dad had been terrible at that time. She started crying abruptly, and after that day, her life slowly fell apart little by little. After some time, she stepped inside the room. After her dad died, she started to eat alone more often, more like every day, and that's when a pro gamer caught her attention. The pro gamer said in an interview that her single mother had raised her alone. Everyone was uncertain, and she felt she was to blame for everything. Her father's death was an accident, but she felt like it was all her mistake. What lifted her out of the endless blaming was the game. This way, Kia heard about the game. She knew this swamp was constantly swallowing her up, but in the game world, she could escape the swamp. She became Cynthia in the game world. She put all her effort into the game. After a while, Lugo told her in the real world that he had heard she had already achieved a high rank. Kia knew his character had a rare career, so she asked him if he was an engineer. She asked him if he wanted to do something together. He agreed, but he thought she looked a bit different. Kia denied that she seemed a bit different. Later on, she wore the crown on her head in the game. They formed a guild named the Number Zero Guild. She then found Selvarat and Tinia too. She Mitruch. She used to kill monsters. Lugo witnessed all of this with his own two eyes. Cynthia met Ignis and captured her in the castle dungeon. Lugo happened to know all of what Cynthia had been doing. Cynthia was heavily injured and wondered if she had been going in circles to reach this point. She thought she had found the answer. If only she could get a first place. She knew that victory was just around the corner. However, she wasn't sure. She told Ignis that she might be able to find the answer she had been looking for. She took off her crown, passed it to Ignis, and told her that this was the item she had been after. Ignis asked Cynthia what she would do now. She told Ignis not to worry because she wouldn't torture monsters anymore. She told Ignis that she had lost strength. She alerted her troops and instructed them not to touch the one in the red cloak and those with her. She ordered her troops to let them do whatever they wanted. She concluded with the words to Ignis that the fight was pretty good. Well, they still didn't know why they had acquired egos, but having a conscious mind could lead to a lot of suffering. Countless obstructions would lie in their path. So she decided to free Lard. She slashed the Chimera. After the Chimera was slashed by her, it freed all the monsters. Lard thanked Ignis. Ignis realized that having an ego was genuinely remarkable.